The lock on Unit C14 was shut tight when I checked it at 9, and shut again at midnight. But everything behind that door had moved 8 inches to the left. I only noticed because I write everything down. Unit numbers, times, which rows I walk, whether a padlock looks tampered with. My new supervisor, Gail Prentice, raised an eyebrow the first week. "You know this isn't Fort Knox," she said. "It's a storage lot in the middle of nowhere." Desert Bloom sat on the edge of Coyote Flats, 11 rows of roll-up units, a chain-link perimeter, and a dry wash behind the back fence that hadn't seen real water in years. One thing Gail said almost as an afterthought: "The master key ring stays on the hook after midnight. Doesn't matter who calls. Tenant locked out at 2 in the morning, you tell them to come back at 7. There was a laminated photograph taped to the utility room door, a stocky man in coveralls squinting against the sun. Underneath, in faded marker, Warren Kessler, kept the lights on, 1988-2001. During a windstorm in October of 2001, a service line came down on the perimeter fence while he was troubleshooting the row lighting panel. He was standing in wet gravel with his hand on the breaker box when it happened. "That's part of why we don't touch that panel ourselves anymore," Gail said. "Everything electrical goes through a licensed contractor now. Nobody's supposed to be a hero out here." I liked the job. Quiet, mostly solitary. The wind picked up most nights once the sun went down, rattling the roll-up doors in their tracks. 6 weeks in, my 9 o'clock walk logged C14 as secure. At midnight, same lock, same door. But through the gap under the door, a dresser that had been flush against the back wall now sat catty-corner. Nothing broken, nothing missing, just moved. I told myself the ground settles unevenly in the desert heat, and a dresser that size could shift on its own. It happened again 2 weeks later in C9. A stack of moving boxes rearranged from a pyramid into a straight line, their taped seams still sealed. I mentioned it to Dobbs. "Row C does that," he said, like it was a known fact of the property. "Don't ask me why. I just don't stand out there longer than I need to." On a slow night, I cross-referenced every displacement against the tenant logs. 11 instances in 4 years, all in row C, all during windy nights, always toward the corner closest to the old lighting panel. I brought the pattern to Gail. She turned her reading glasses over in her hand and said, "Warren used to keep spare parts in C14 back when he still had a service key to this place." In Kessler's old maintenance file, a handwritten note dated 4 days before the storm: "Row C lighting panel keeps tripping on its own. No load to explain it." There was no follow-up after that. The night everything changed, the wind was stronger than I'd heard it get. Around 1 in the morning, the gate app pinged. "Unit C14, door status open," a unit I'd personally locked myself. On the live camera feed, wind-blown dust turned the far end of row C into a gray haze, but the door of C14 looked cracked open, a dark gap where there shouldn't have been one. Called Dobbs. No answer for almost 2 minutes. When he called back, he sounded irritated, said to log it and wait until morning, storm or no storm. I looked at the master key ring on its hook. Gail's rule sat in my head clearer than it had in months. I logged the alert, noted the time, and didn't unhook the keys. At 6 the next morning, Gail and I walked row C together. The padlock on C14 was closed, undamaged. No sign it had ever been open at all. 2 days later, the tenant swore he'd left his dresser centered against the far wall. It sat in the back left corner, same place it always ended up. I asked Gail whether Kessler's spare parts key had ever been recovered. She didn't answer right away. She said some questions don't have a paper trail worth finding. The displacements haven't stopped, though they've thinned out. I still keep the master key ring on its hook after midnight, no matter who calls or what they say is wrong. The displacements haven't stopped, though they've thinned out. I still keep the master key ring on its hook after midnight, no matter who calls or what they say is wrong.